Okie dokie, let's go ahead and start. This is exercise 8, day 140, just 3 pages. All right, so yesterday we did area, practice with perimeter. Today we're going to talk about circles. All right, so in our last exercise, we explored how to find the perimeter and area of rectangles and squares. In this exercise, we're going to learn about circles. Circles are shapes. They're not polygons because they're not constructed from line segments connected together. Circles are named for their center point, like this. See the first circle there? Okay, this is circle A because the center point is what names the circle. The distance from a circle's center point to the edge is the same anywhere you measure it. So in other words, I'm just drawing this one that's in the book. Okay. It's not perfect, of course, but we're just going to go with it. Okay. That's a funny looking bee. Okay. So this circle is known as circle A. That's the name of the circle. Now, anywhere from the center point to an edge, anywhere you go, it's going to be the same distance, no matter which direction you go. Same distance. Okay? Now, then it says, underneath there, it says AB equals AC. Okay, so what that means is that line segment AB equals line segment AC. Because anything on this circle from the center to an edge is the same distance. So that's why it says that these two line segments are exactly the same, because they start here and go to the edge, so they're the same. We know that. Now, here's some words we'll need to know. See where it says vocabulary? Now, these are not new. These are words that you should know. Radius is the distance from the center point to the edge of the circle. So radius is half of a circle. So radius would be from here to the outside. This would be radius. Here, you could measure anyway, doesn't matter. But half the circle is radius. Now, diameter is the distance from edge to edge through the center point. So you might say from edge to edge through the center point. So this line would be diameter. Now there's a good description of it right there on your book. See that circle? Now radius is half the circle. Diameter is the full thing from one side to the other, but it has to go through the center point. Okay, here's another word, circumference. Now, this is where it kind of comes into science. And I don't like science, but I like this part of geometry. The distance around the circle. Think of it as the perimeter of a circle. So the circumference is the measurement around the circle. That's circumference. Okay? Now, it says to go ahead and make flashcards for radius, diameter, circumference, but you don't have to unless you just want to. Now, on number 2, let's label the circle. Okay, so on number 2, just label it anything you want to label it. Remember, it's always named by the center point. So just put a letter there in the center. If you want to name it Z, and put a Z under that point, and it'll be circle Z. Just put it right underneath the dot on number 2. Number 3, you'll want something to make a straight line, like a small ruler or something. Draw the radius of this circle and label it. Okay, this is going to be, all right, this is number 3. Okay, you've already named the first one, whatever you wanted to name it. All right, this says draw the radius of this circle and label it. All right, well, the radius is, remember, radius is half the circle. Okay, now we're going to label it. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to label it. I'm going to label mine Z and A. That's the radius. The radius is ZA, line segment ZA or AZ, either way. Okay. On number 4, it says, draw and label the diameter of this circle. I'm just going to keep my circle and I'm just going to use a different color. All right, so we're going to do the diameter. Okay. No, we don't want to do that. Oh my gracious, are you kidding me? Well, great. Okay. All right, so your diameter is going to go through. I've already deleted mine on accident. I'm not going to put it back. So just make a straight line from one side to the other through the center line, and then just label it. You're going to need 3 labels. You're going to need the dot on one end of the circle, the dot in the middle that names the circle, and the dot on the other end. Okay, now, number 5, fill in the blank. The blank is the distance around the circle. Think of it as perimeter, but it's in a circle, it's called the circumference. The circumference is around. All right, let's look at the next page, number 6. How long is segment MN? All right, well, let's look at it. You don't have to measure it. They've already measured it for you. All right, set line segment MN. Okay, well, let's see. The whole thing, because that is M, N, and O. N is the center point. Do you see that? There's M on one side, there's O on the other. Okay, so from M to O is 5 inches. From N to O is 2 inches. So how big is line segment MN? Do you know? I'm hoping that you are understanding this and that you've already got the answer, but I'm just going to assume that you don't understand it. It seems like we had one of these that you didn't understand last week. Okay, so I used a different color. I didn't mean to. Okay, so this is M, and this is N, and this is O. So we know that the whole thing measures 5 inches from here to here. We know that from here to here measures 2 inches. So they want to know, what is this measurement? It's 3. Because 3 plus 2 would be 5. The whole thing is 5. This section is 2, so what's left must be 3. That makes sense? Okay. Number 7, name this angle. Okay, well, you see there's an R, there's an S, and there's a T. Remember what part of the angle must be in the center? The vertex. So you could name it angle R, S, T, or angle T, S, R. There's one more name. You could also name it by the vertex, angle S. One of these, it doesn't matter, any one of those. Okay. Number 8 says, what is the radius? All right, number 8 shows a circle, and it gives us the diameter. Remember, the diameter is from one end to the next. Okay. Well, radius is half the diameter. So if the diameter is 10 inches, what's the radius? What's half of 10? 5. So number 8 is 5 inches. The radius, or half of it, is 5 inches. All right, number 9. It gives us the radius, and it wants us to get the diameter. Okay, so if the radius is 3 inches, what's the diameter? It'd be 3 more inches, so that would be 6. So number 9, the answer is 6. Okay. Number 10, What's the perimeter of this rectangle on number 10? Remember, perimeter is adding up all the sides. So there's 2 7s, so that's 14, and there's 2 4s, that's 8. So what's 14 and 8? 21? 22. 22 miles. So the perimeter of that rectangle is 22 miles because you just add it all up. Just don't forget, just because they give you 2 numbers and they want perimeter doesn't mean those are only 2 you add up. You got to remember all the sides because perimeter is all the sides. Now it wants the area of this rectangle. Area is what's inside. Okay, remember there are 4 rows across, 7 columns down. 4 times 7 would give you 28 square miles. Don't forget square. Perimeter is just whatever the unit is, miles, inches, feet, whatever. But area is square, whatever, because we're figuring out how many squares fit in there. All right. Okay, so 11, 12, and 13. Okay, 11, 35 out of 100 apples were rotten. What percent were rotten? 35% were rotten because there was 100 apples and 35 of them were rotten. So that means 35% were rotten. Now it says, what percent were good? Oh, what you going to do to figure that one out? You're going to subtract this from 100 and see what's left. So 35 plus what gives you 100? 65. So if 35 were bad, that means 65 were good. It's supposed to be a 6. So 65 of 100 were good, so the percentage that was good was 65%. So 65 and 35 make up 100%. 35% were rotten, 65 were good. Make sense? Okay. Numbers 12 and 13, I want you to pause it, and I want you to do those 2 problems, and then I'm going to give you the answers and make sure you got them right. If you got them wrong, I want you to go back over them and redo them. So pause it right quick and finish 12 and 13. Okay, number 12. Here's the answer. If you got it wrong, redo it. The answer to number 13 if you got that one wrong, redo it till you get the right answer. Okay? Number 14. These are things you should remember. Now, it says use your calculator, so you can use a calculator. Remember to get the average. All right? You are going to average these numbers. Okay, so you're going to add up all 4 numbers, each one of those 4, add them all up, and then divide by how many numbers there are. Round it to the nearest whole number. Okay, here's your decimal. This is your nearest whole number. It'll be your ones place. So your tenths place is going to be what rounds it. Okay, so you'll round it to this place. Your answer will not be a decimal. You will have to round it to a whole number. Okay, so pause it, and I want you to round or average those, and then we'll get your answer and see what you did wrong, if you did wrong. All right, the answer on number 14 would be that's your answer. after adding those up and dividing by 4 and then rounding to the nearest whole number. If you don't understand, you need to come ask me, because you need to understand that. All right, on the next page, this is filling in the chart. So you ought to do this okay. You've been doing pretty good on this. So I'm just going to let you do this yourself. And we are going to need to check it. So make sure we check this. If I don't check it, you check it. Make sure you check it. Okay? All right, so that then will be all your lesson for today.